Welcome back to the Autry Benton Show. Today I have one of my good friends sitting down with me today, Marc McDowell. Thank you for joining us today.
Good to see you, Autry.
I want to brag on you a little bit before you get going, learn a little bit about you.
That's a good start.
We hadn't known each other a long time, but when I first met you, you impressed me. And in this is that we had a lot in common. And a lot of people will tell you that they agree with you, jump on with you, and I was in the middle of a campaign, I'll be very honest. But we had a lot of similar ideas, and you didn't hesitate, buddy. I mean, you jumped in and you're like, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to help you, because we agreed on what had to happen. And that's rare in this world. And I don't think that's just with me, Marc, but I think you got a keen sense of who you can put your trust in and like where you want to go. And that's rare in these days, man. And I compliment you for that.
Well, that's very kind. I appreciate that, Autry. I mean, I thought, business owners and people that have grew up in the area and things, I think, there's few and far between to find someone that grew up here and has stayed here, had a business, started a family. And, when you and I talked about some things that you thought the area needed and what you wanted to do, it rang true for me as well. So it was easy. It was easy to support you.
That was very kind. I appreciate that. Absolutely. I mean, and our friendship has grown from there.
Absolutely.
You and your wife have been very kind to me and my family, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome.
But I want to dig down and learn a little bit more about you today, buddy. Yeah. So tell me where you grew up.
So I was actually born in Fayetteville, North Carolina. My father was in the Army there. Was at
Thank
Fort
you for
Bragg.
your service.
Yeah, and I was born there. My mother's from Loris. He was from Conway, and shortly after I was born, they moved back to Ory County. So I grew up in Loris. My whole life, I've actually lived in Ory County, other than 6 months in Fayetteville. I've lived in Ory County all my life, other than college when I went to the University of South Carolina. So this is home. I led my way back from Columbia to come back here, and I've raised my family here, and it's home still.
Yeah. So tell me about growing up in Loris. What was that like? What did that look like?
Loris is a fantastic community. Still is. I actually visited there a couple of weeks ago and had lunch with a buddy of mine I grew up with. Hadn't seen him in 20 years. We met at Shorty's Grill. Loris is a great place to grow up. It's funny, it's kind of like it's the same way with Conway. If you said, so where'd you grow up? So I grew up in Loris. Oh, do you know so-and-so? The answer is yes. Yeah, I know them. So my mother still lives in Loris. So I go to visit her and actually started my first banking job. I got into banking after college, and my first bank job was in Loris as well. Yeah. So growing up in Loris is great. Still have good friends that we still stay in touch, see regularly. Several that moved into the same area that I live in now. So it was a great place to grow up.
You said Shorty's, but I think about Loris is great people and great food. I mean, you can find some good food in Loris.
If you want a good burger or a meat and three, you can find it at Loris. Yeah. And the people, even going back to Shorty's a couple weeks ago, I walked in, I saw 4 or 5 people that I've known all my life, and it was like I'd never left. So it's just a great community.
Great place. Go to Loris High School?
I did. I graduated Loris High School in '89. We were actually the first graduating class, what they call the new school. Yeah. Growing up, Loris had in downtown Loris is where the high school was. It was actually multiple buildings, almost a campus style. And the county in the late 80s started investing in what they called newer schools. I remember Loris and Green Sea both got new schools at about the same time, and so they moved it out to the Hennifer Field area, which is off Heritage Road, just outside the city limits at the time. And I graduated there, and so yes, it's home. It's
good.
Yeah.
Did you know what you want to do after high school? Did you have a plan?
No. No. See, my mother was a school teacher. Yeah. I didn't come from a family. My mother's a school teacher. My father was a postman. He ended up working for the Ory County schools. My brother works for Ory County schools. I grew up in a family that, they just went to work every day. And I didn't know, I can't say I knew a lot about business at all. I went to school for a finance degree, so you learn more then. And even after school, when I graduated University of South Carolina in '93, my first job was Waccamaw Corporation, which was the corporate office of Waccamaw Pottery. If you remember Waccamaw Pottery off 501, they had offices, or I should say stores, throughout North and South Carolina, and they hired me to be what they called a shortage auditor. I couldn't tell you to this day what that was.
Yeah.
It was more of an inventory control,
Yeah.
but it was my first real job.
Yeah.
And so I went to work there for about a year, but it wasn't something that I really wanted to do. I was more, growing up and, coming through, I worked at a country club there in Loris. I worked at a water bogging in North Myrtle Beach. I was always around people.
Yeah.
And I felt like I needed to be in a field that I could have customer contact, for lack of a better term.
But you said you went for finance?
I did.
School? Yeah. Did you, what particularly put you towards that? You just.
So, when you go in and try to pick like what you want to do, most people back then, they would either go into management or marketing. That was more of a broad spectrum of business study. And I thought, well, maybe if I knew accounting, I liked math, so let's try accounting or finance. I started with accounting and thought I might want to be an accountant, but then I got to what they call a cost accounting class, and I learnred real quick that wasn't
just
for me.
Tough and boring.
It's too hard. It's too hard. And I can remember the first. I was always the person that I finished my test quickly, and I remember going to the exam at cost accounting. I didn't finish the exam.
Ooh,
So anyway,
tough.
Switched over to finance.
Did you enjoy college?
Oh, absolutely.
Had a good time?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I met a lot of good friends. University of South Carolina was a great place to go to school. Like a lot of southern schools, large schools, a football program, lots to do. Yeah, it was great. We had. I wouldn't say that I really wanted to live in Columbia.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed my time at South Carolina.
Yeah.
It was great.
Was the school, you just said that class was tough, but was it the whole thing tough or not so much, or just a good balance of everything?
Cost accounting is what they call a weed out course.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where you say, well, if you want to do this and you get out of this and you pass it and you still like it, maybe accounting is what you want to do.
Yeah.
If you don't,
you
don't. I think that was probably the first time I realized it was more about there's more to it than just going to school.
Yeah.
But to actually think about what you were going to do the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And as far as making money goes.
I got you.
So I did, finished up, and then I got the job at Waccamaw. Shortly afterwards, I was sort of thinking about maybe a different path, but I didn't know what. I got a call from a friend of mine, Joe Cox, that's a banker in Loris. And he's in Conway now. Yeah. Joe called me and said, hey, Ory County State Bank, a very, very small bank, had one branch at the time, said they're looking for a lender or maybe a management trainee. Would you be interested? I said, sure. And so I took a job over there.
Wow.
And I was able to go through the entire banking process, teller, opening accounts, doing some backroom stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I did. I enjoyed that. That's sort of where I started my banking career.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was in 94, so almost 32 years ago.
So coming out of college, though, did you know you wanted to come back to Ory County, or was it just opportunity driven?
Opportunity driven.
Okay.
I didn't know.
Okay.
I thought, I really liked the medium-sized towns like Raleigh and at the time Charlotte. I gave that some thought, but it really came home, and I had some other friends that worked at Waccamaw that sort of just turned me on and said, hey, we've got some openings here. Within 3 weeks, I was working. I graduated in December, and I think by the third week of January, I had a full-time job.
And a lot of people in Ory County, been here a while, know that. Tell us what that operation was back then, Waccamaw Pottery and all that, what was going on.
So Waccamaw Pottery, if I'm going off of memory here, but Waccamaw Pottery started by the Bishop family. Okay. And they were a retail company and mostly home goods. It was almost like it was like the home goods of the 80s. Yeah. I can even remember growing up, when Star Wars came out, they sold everything, and I can remember going there to buy my Star Wars little miniature figures at Waccamaw Pottery. Yeah. If you remember going down 501, and I mean that was a big deal back then. It was a big deal, Mark. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Everybody knew where Waccamaw Pottery was. Yeah. So I kind of, at the time, and unbeknownst to me, but, retail actually was already starting to suffer back in the early 90s. There was a big push I learned things like, where you have a retail floor, and they really started focusing on things like sales per square foot, stuff like that. Well, a place like Waccamaw Pottery that sold large items, linens, all kinds of stuff. Yeah. It almost became outdated right before your eyes. Yeah. And that was before the Amazons of the world or the online, shopping and stuff. But But I learned a lot from a professional level.
Yeah.
There were a lot of the senior management was from a company called May Company, which is up in Ohio. And, to work with people that had been in that type of business a long time in a corporate world, I still remember a lot about that.
As you're talking, there are two things kind of in my mind is, life's always changing, ain't it, Mark?
Absolutely.
Even business is always changing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And the other thing is you telling your story, but we learned things along the way, right? I mean, you learned things there at your first job. I imagine you still carry with you today, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then in banking, I think one of the things that drove me to banking is I really did want to understand business. And I felt like getting into banking, you could meet people like yourself, frankly, and see how they made money, how they did their business, what their challenges were. I pivoted toward commercial lending, commercial side even more so than back then. You did a lot of car loans and even personal loans, but it sort of my career took me on the commercial side, and that is where I really started to get my feel for business, learn to appreciate how people worked, what their struggles were. It humbled me. Most of the time you're dealing with people that make a lot more money than you, more successful, more seasoned. But it actually made me, when you loan somebody money, you got to pull for them. You got to hope they're successful so they can pay you back.
Because you're kind of a partner with them,
absolutely. So banking to this day, it really taught me a lot of humility, and took away jealousy as far as business and things go. And I still love it to this day. I work at South Atlantic Bank in North Myrtle Beach, and that's where my career has really been, in North Myrtle Beach.
But just knowing you, Mark, I mean, I can just tell you really enjoy people and you love people. And I mean, a banker is a very personal thing because you catch people at different points of life, need, dreams. You want to talk to that a little bit?
Yeah, I've always thought banking was incredibly personal.
Yeah.
You share things with me that you don't share with 99% of people out there. Doing business doesn't require you to provide things like tax returns, financials, or tell me your problems or successes. So yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed that part where you said a partnership. I was always careful not to say as much as partnership because I always thought, a person that has their own business and doing things, it takes a special person to do that. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of hard work. The bank is a part of it many times, but that's what I've enjoyed the most out of banking. It's the personal relationships, the successes, the working through the good and the bad times. It's been great.
But I think banks, dreams wouldn't have an opportunity if there weren't banks either. Because
I agree.
It's very much needed.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. And I think that the partnership, and if it works really well, then that relationship grows and grows, and the needs change, but the relationship stays there.
Absolutely. So tell us about banking today. Tell us again where you're at.
I'm at South Atlantic Bank, which is a bank based out of Myrtle Beach. I'll back up a little bit, but my first banking job after Ory County State Bank into the beach market was a bank called Anchor Bank, which was based out of Myrtle Beach, and formed by these great businessmen in the early '70s, and it was kind of a who's who of Myrtle Beach that was on the board. People that really were here when the beach started to take off: restaurant people, marketing people, lawyers, everything, and so. Anchor Bank provided a good foundation for me at the beach. And South Atlantic, interesting enough, a lot of the people that work with me at South Atlantic Bank, we all work together at Anchor Bank.
Wow.
One of the things that's kept me in banking is where I work. I always tell people I work with my buddies. I work with my friends. And we can talk at a level just like you and I are talking about how to get things done or what's the right things to do. It's just outstanding bankers over there, and it's been a great place to work.
Wow. So you still enjoy banking today?
I do. I love the relationship side of it.
Yeah.
I love I'm more of a type of banker as far as small regional banks, banks based out of Ory County. Ory County's a different business market. It's not like Charlotte or even Charleston. We don't have the diverse economy that some of the other markets have. So people that are making money and are running the bank based out of Ory County, I think have a really good perspective and can help people more. Instead of like if you have a decision maker that's just pick anywhere else. Maybe they don't know. I always tell the story. I worked for a bank a long time ago that we got bought out a couple of times, and I worked at North Myrtle Beach, and I called and I said, hey, I have a guy that's looking to do something right on the state line in Calabash. And the guy I was talking to said, oh, that's way out of our market. I said, you think so? He said, yeah. I said, well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I walked out the front door of this bank and I had to walk to Calabash or Myrtle Beach, which one do you think I should do? They said Myrtle Beach.
Wow.
I said, no, Calabash is a lot closer. But that's just an example of where I think that, a bank like Anchor Bank, Conway National, people like that are from, that are leadership in the market, it helps a lot.
Yeah. And I think, too, a factor, and I mean, you're a banker, but the financials matter, but to look that person in the eye, know a little bit about them, I mean, that's got to be a factor, too.
It is.
Mark.
It is. The one thing that has changed over the years, when I first got into banking, what you described was it's still a big part, but it could be the only part. If you knew that person and, they'd always done what they said, you could help them.
Yeah.
That still holds true. But today's business model and banking model, there's a lot more emphasis on, what the numbers say, things like that. It has to make sense financially. And I believe it should have always, but it does help when you work for a bank that they know the people you're talking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, I got you. Good deal. So bring me up on your personal life now.
Well, I'm married. Me and my wife have 5 kids. I was just telling you, I had my youngest daughter. We have 4 girls, 1 boy. My youngest daughter just graduated College of Charleston this past week. So it's like checking off a list of taking people off your payroll.
You got a raise.
Yeah, got a raise. And I'm very proud of all of them. My wife and I, we say, that our kids are aggravating, but knock on wood, they've never broken our hearts.
Yeah.
So we're very happy. We're proud of all of them. 4 girls, 27, twins that are 26. The youngest girl's 22, and then the boy's 18. And so the first 4 are, all of them are on good paths, but the boy, Nick, is just, he graduated North Myrtle Beach High School last year. He's going to Ory, Georgetown Tech. He's in the turf management program.
Oh, wow.
And he's interning at Surf Golf and Beach Club in North Myrtle. He just got another intern job at Old Barnwell, which is over near Aiken. Okay. In a really nice golf course. He left there about a week. He left to go there for a 10-week job last week. Yeah. But we have 2 grandkids, one that's 5 years old, little girl, and a newborn, a little boy. He's about 3 weeks old.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So tell me some parenting advice.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I think that, I always think when it comes to raising kids, I used to tell a good friend of mine, John Breeden, who passed away a few years ago. I said, even if you're not broke, your kids need to believe you are.
That's good. I've heard a lot of it.
And I think, I grew up in a single parent household. Yeah. And my mother sacrificed for us. She was wonderful and still is. Yeah. And I can remember being in school even and needing something, but I didn't want to call and ask her because I didn't think she had it. And I think that, and back then it wasn't the greatest feeling, but looking back, I'm thankful for that. Yeah. And I think, as parents, we want better for our kids. Yeah. But in reality, I think it's okay to struggle a little bit and try to figure things out. Yeah. Maybe just enough to make it uncomfortable. Yeah. But
Mark, that's good advice. A lot of people have asked that question, but that was probably some of the most interesting one I've heard.
I think it's, I wanted to be, I think our job is to get them in the world and become, good adults. You spend a lot of time making sure they're good people. They have, good work ethic, hopefully. I always tell mine too, is like in the world, I think you either got to be really smart or have really good work ethic. If you got both, it's great. If you got neither, it's really hard. But so far, our kids have been great as far as their work ethic and their path. It's been good so far.
I got you. Good deal. Give me some marriage advice.
Marriage advice. So, man, I'm probably not as good a person to give marriage advice. I think that if you find somebody that you love, you should tell them every day.
Good. good.
And if you're lucky enough to marry your buddy,
Yeah.
it's even better.
Yeah.
You know, and I do have that. Jennifer and I have been we've been married for almost 4 years, and together about 6, and it's been a really good. I married a Brave just like you did.
Yeah.
A Sockasty Brave.
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. Well, I know that you are an entrepreneur as well. So tell me
Right.
about those ventures. You're in the restaurant business.
I am. I get asked a lot how I got into restaurant or bar business, and I don't know how to answer it sometimes. I think it's kind of an opportunity thing. We've been in, we own me and a partner, Kevin Richard, and Billy Riggs, own Captain Archie's up in North Myrtle Beach, which is an iconic location. It was old Captain Pooh's. It's been around for 50 years. And
Right on the water.
Right on the Intercoastal Waterway. We like to think it's our clientele is anywhere from 23 to 93. we have an eclectic group where if you're sitting there, you could be having a beer with a guy that saved his money all week to have that one beer. He might be sitting next to a guy that's got more money, knows what to do with, but they seem to get along.
Yeah.
But it's a seafood wing restaurant. We have live music entertainment. We've been in business 11 years. And I've met a lot of good people that way. And it actually has helped me in banking too, because once again, I think, as a banker, you see one side of business. I think when I started having my own business, I saw a whole different side. And it gave me even more better appreciation of what people do to make money. And then, so 11 years there. And then this past January, we actually just bought Oscar's Food and Spirits, which is another big name, great spot in North Myrtle Beach. It was opened back in 1988 by Carla and Freddie Williams. I think I ate my first chicken wing at Oscar's back in college.
Wow.
Yes. And Freddie passed away back about 18 years ago, and his wife Carla continued to run the place. It's a Pittsburgh themed bar and restaurant, which means they serve food a certain way as far as sandwiches with fries already on them. Always had a great reputation for great food, great bar food. And great people and a wonderful staff. And Carla and I have been friends since I was in college, and we were just talking one day. We're actually all in Vegas, and she expressed to me how she was really ready to retire and enjoy her twilight years. And we just started talking. And all of a sudden, we had a deal.
Yeah.
And it felt right, and it has been right. So we bought it back in January, me and Kevin and another good friend of mine, Roger Roy, who's an attorney in North Myrtle Beach. And we remodeled and we reopened about a month ago, so we're excited about that.
Have you enjoyed the restaurant business?
I have.
Yeah.
I had someone ask me back in, it was actually, we went to Oscar's for New Year's Eve, my wife and I, and Carla's boyfriend, Darren, said to me, Mark, why do you want to go through all this again? Don't you want to slow down? And I looked around, I saw everyone having just a great time, and people were just in a great mood, and it was fun, and it was innocent, if you will, and harmless, and the smile on everybody's face. I looked there and I said, that's why. That's just a neat feeling. My partner says, you get paid to hang out with people you like, which is somewhat true.
It is.
But we both places are a lot more than just going and sitting and eating. It is a social event. It is a gathering of friends. And I do enjoy that.
That's great.
And I enjoy also, we hire a lot of young people. I think that young people that start out working in a restaurant business and they're like say 14, 15 years old, whether it's a hostess or a food runner, if you can work in a restaurant business and do well, I think that sets you up for a long time. I think it teaches you to deal with every kind of person. You can deal with kitchen people, you can deal with front of house people, you deal with customers. And I think it takes you a long way. So I think a lot of people that do start out in a restaurant business and go on to other things, they do well.
Wow,
because you got to work hard to do that.
That's very insightful. Yeah. And Mark, you hit on something too, I think, is that people sometimes stereotype business owners, but you're a job creator, man. You create jobs and opportunity. That's special, man. That and our world needs that. Our
economy
needs that.
I do agree. I think, a lot of times their focus is on who owns or who's the boss, for lack of a better term. But, Yeah, I mean, we have 100 employees at Captain Archie's.
100,
100 people that
That's
work
awesome.
there during the, now.
Yeah.
It comes down in the winter, but those are 100 people that, that they look to Captain Archie's and its success to pay their bills, to support their families.
Yeah.
When hurricanes come through, we think about that a lot. It's like, well, it sucks for us, but
Your
how
employees.
about the guy that's living paycheck to paycheck? We think about those things.
That's impactful.
Yeah.
The other thing with you employing that many people, running a business, I think it still goes back to your banking business. To me, my mind says, why would Mark still play in that space, man? But I think that shows how much you still enjoy banking too, as well. Tell me the balance and kind of how you bring all that together. I mean,
I think I was blessed. I don't know if my mother, I don't even say she's the greatest time manager, but I was blessed with good time management skills for one reason or another. So it's rare that I'll get bogged down, but I do care about my time. I value how I spend my day. The fact that I absolutely still enjoy banking and the people I work with takes me, I don't mind getting up and going to work every day. And at the same time, having to juggle a little bit of phone calls here and there. We have really good staff at both restaurants. That enables me to do what I'm describing. So it's very important that you surround yourself with good people. And I've been lucky for that.
I got you. So we're winding down. What's one of the biggest challenges in business, owning a business?
There's a lot more to business than just buying something and selling it for a little bit more. You got to be able to hire the right people. You got to have a quality product or quality service, or maybe even both. So I think as far as a challenge goes, I think if you can find something that you really enjoy, you're passionate about, and then maybe you're good at it, it works. But if you don't have those three things, I think it can be very tough.
So you would say the key to whatever career you do is be passionate about what you do.
Be passionate. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a need out there. If you've got to put food on the table, you got to do whatever it takes to do that. And so if you can somehow be lucky enough to be able to support your family and enjoy it, life is good.
Yeah.
But saying that, I think it is very difficult, in particularly young people that are coming through, the cost of college. When I went to school, I did go to school on student loans, but school didn't cost that much back then. When I got out of school, I basically had an extra car payment for my student loan. That's manageable. Now I think coming out, if you had a huge amount of student debt and so forth, you may be forced to go into something you don't really want to because you have to make a certain amount of money to live. So I think that's a huge challenge for the young people that are coming through now, is whether college is right or not, and to have a true plan because of the sheer cost of education now.
Yeah, good. Well, buddy, this has been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us today.
Man, that was easy.
Thank you for your friendship.
Absolutely.
I'm honored you called me my friend, buddy.
Yes, same, Autry. Thank you so much.
So, folks, as we wrap up today, we've seen a picture of success, hard work, doing something you're passionate about. Make sure that you're chasing something you're passionate about today. Join us next time.